Product Universe here. A clueless reporter asked Pam Bondi the wrong question. What happens next is unbelievable.
Hi there. So Maine's governor yesterday said there were maybe at most 2 trans athletes in Maine schools right now. I just was hoping you could talk a little bit about the sort of amount of federal resources that you're putting into this and why that's worth it given the small impact in Maine. And I have a second off-topic question too. Given that it has some of the same elements as the fire bombings of Tesla dealerships that you've charged federally and called domestic terrorism, I'm wondering if you would say the arson at Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro's house would also be domestic terrorism and something you would investigate federally, and if not, what constitutes domestic terrorism?
Okay, so first the on-topic question about the, I haven't heard Janet Mills' comment. Governor Mills said it's only a couple trans athletes. Well, I think those are boys who identify as girls wanting to beat girls in girls' sports. Well, if one young woman is in jeopardy, one, that's enough for us to be standing up here. One, no boy will be undressing in a girl's locker room. No boy will be walking in a woman's restroom. And no boy, when we're finished with this, will be beating young girls in sports. These young women many of them have trained, since you were in elementary school for your sport? Riley, when did you start swimming? 4 years old. They have trained their entire lives. Some of them have lost scholarships. They have lost regionals. They have lost state because of boys. I don't care if it's 1. I don't care if it's 2. I don't care if it's 100. It's going to stop, and it's going to stop in every single state. Tesla. You ask about, yes, Tesla. You ask about, so I spoke to Governor Shapiro. I think you're referring to his governor's mansion. I spoke to him. It is absolutely horrific what happened to him. Kash Patel also spoke to him. We have been praying for Josh, for his family. Those photos, it was horrible. I firmly believe they wanted to kill him. The defendant allegedly said he was going to use a hammer if he could have gotten to the governor. I've known the governor many, many years. It is horrible. And yes, we are working with state authorities to do, it's now a pending investigation, anything we can to help convict the person that did this and keep them behind bars as long as possible.
That was a totally unbelievable question from that reporter. A question where she rationalized boys playing against girls in girls' high school sports by essentially saying, why is it a problem for boys to play against girls in girls-only high school sports if there are currently only 2 boys in Maine who are dominating girls in girls' high school athletics at the moment? Rationalizing the fact that it appears to not be a widespread issue because there are only 2 boys competing against girls. But that logic is very flawed because by having those 2 boys being able to compete in girls-only sports in Maine, those 2 boys, through the unfair gender advantage, will undoubtedly take the top 2 spots on the podium away from the actual biological girls. Even though it's just 2 boys that are playing, they affect every single girl in the state of Maine in the realm of high school girls athletics for the sport that those boys play in. It is not a small impact, as the reporter said, as those boys have an unfair biological advantage over the girls, as we've seen in numerous cases of men playing in women's sports, where the men dominate the women and cheat the biological women out of success because the women can't compete with the men, because the men have too big of a biological advantage because they are biological men. It is a total clown world that this reporter lives in to advocate for boys and men to dominate girls and women in girls and women's only sports. It is totally unfair for boys and men to be able to compete in girls and women's only sports. Plain and simple. There should be no argument to the contrary, as through science we know that biological men can become bigger, faster, and stronger than the top level elite female athlete. So it was totally beautiful to see Pam Bondi come out and eviscerate that reporter for asking that question. It was unbelievable to see Pam Bondi's response, where she advocated for women's rights and protecting women in women's sports. She's a very strong woman who wants to protect strong female athletes' rights to a fair competition and to not be cheated out of success and potential college scholarships along with NIL money now for athletics by men. Pam Bondi's strong response and willingness to protect women is what we need in this country. A breath of fresh air, as in the Biden administration. This insanity and madness of men playing in women's sports truly began. An insidious notion that was allowed to fester under the Biden administration where men could dominate women in women's sports. On the high school level, the college level, and the Olympic level. The Biden administration did not stand up for the rights of women. They stood up for the rights of the men that want to play in women's sports. Now because President Trump is in charge of our great nation, the pendulum has swung back to common sense. And with the help of Pam Bondi, women's rights will be protected again. The rights of women will be restored, and the fairness will return in women's only sports, where it should be that only biological women can play against biological women, unless the biological women want to play co-ed. But for the sports that are supposed to be 100% all one gender, they will hopefully become 100% all one gender again under the Trump administration. The Trump administration will get men out of women's sports. Pam Bondi is doing a great job for standing up for women's rights, as well as denouncing political violence, as she said about the firebombing of Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro's house and Tesla dealerships. There is no room in America for this despicable violence, as we should be able to have verbal disagreements, but nothing should rise to the level of that. It is despicable and should be condemned. America is so lucky to have a strong woman in charge of the Justice Department. Lucky to have Pam Bondi at the helm as the Attorney General. But that's just my 2 cents, and you're entitled to your 2 cents. If you want, share your opinion in the comments below, as all viewpoints are welcome. If you enjoyed this informational and educational video, then give the video a like and turn on my channel notifications so that you'll be notified the next time I release a new video. Thanks for watching. God bless you, and God bless America.